This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 425 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Total Saddle Fit and Kentucky Performance Products. Tonight we have Aaron Friedman on talking about riding small horses. Karen Isborg joins us with some great information about heat and skin issues. And Missy Fladland is back with a training tip about horse body awareness.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Hello, Reese.
Hi,
hello,
Phil.
Glenn. Thanks for producing for us tonight.
Hey, guys.
How is everybody doing?
Doing very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Getting very tired. You know, it's halfway through the season.
Halfway
for
through
me,
summer.
so, yeah. Looking forward to another couple of horse shows in the next couple of weeks. Then maybe I might take a bit of a break because I think I need
come
some
visit
rest.
me. You'll come
Yeah,
visit
maybe
me.
we'll try and come visit Reese. And that's about it. Reese,
Isn't
what's
your
going on with
season
you?
in Canada over about August anyway? Because it starts to snow?
Yeah, by the end of
Yes.
August, it's kind of winding down, and that's it. So yes, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
Phil gets,
already
it's
at
like
4
you have
weeks of
Florida.
Summer
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, it's true. You know, we're really booked in Florida for 3 months. It's like go time, and then we settle down, and then Philip gets busy, and then we get busy also with our summer season, and then we still have a fall season, Phil, that you don't have. So I think we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
more
Well,
like
yeah,
Philip.
which leads to scheduling nightmares for the
Yes.
radio show.
It does. It makes
Try
it
and
very
work around
complicated.
it.
Makes it very complicated. Yeah, no, I am great. I took Mikey, follow me. Everyone has kind of heard about my journey with this youngster. He went to his first show. Well, it wasn't his first show, but he actually had to trailer about an hour and a half, horse show, get off the trailer, go around the ring like a big boy, and did his first level, test 3. And he got a 71% yesterday, and it was on a Wednesday. Yeah, so it was very fun to get a 71% on a Wednesday. But our next interview is going to be with Aaron Friedman. It's going to kind of continue on about horse showing and riding smaller horses and ponies. So we hope you enjoy. Well, tonight we are so excited to have Aaron Friedman, FEI rider, trainer, and a very accomplished event rider as well on the program. Aaron, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
We are so excited. You really are sort of the jack of all trades. And what level have you competed in eventing?
Through the 3-star level. And I had a mare getting ready for a Rolex, but we had to reroute due to a minor injury, but she's back together. But yeah, so we've gotten through the 3, and I've been in eventing since I was young and doing dressage and doing both, which is one of the reasons I went and rode with Ingrid Klimke for a year, because she's my hero and everybody's hero. She's pretty awesome.
That is so cool. And you are amazing. Like, we know you as a rider, and unbelievable that you are able to do both. And now you're riding a lot of Connemara ponies, right? And training them to the FEI levels.
Yes. JJ Tate, as you know, rides Gunsmoke Gideon, and she put me in touch with Pam Liddell, who is an amazing breeder, owner of these wonderful Connemaras. And her goal is to breed the ultimate adult amateur and junior horse that can go, that can be competitive up through the levels. And it's remarkable, like, that she has done such a brilliant job building the game horses. They all have super personalities, and it's been really cool to train them and ride them, and seeing how we've sold 16 or 17 this year, and seeing them with their new partners is really, really fun. And I think important for the sport. So I've definitely fallen in love with the breed and what Pam's done. And it's really cool to have an owner who is into like the greater good of learning and education for her ponies. Like, she tries so hard to get her ponies, good education and, from day one. And it's been really fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, what is it like? I mean, to train a pony. What are some kind of challenges that you hit? Ponies are becoming super popular. I know the Pony Cup is coming up in a couple weeks in Kentucky, and that's
Yep.
become incredibly popular. So, what are some challenges that you see when you train when you train ponies versus warm bloods or other breeds?
So maybe it's because of the eventer in me, but I tend to want to push them a little bit too fast. Not fast in their training, but actually fast in their rhythm and tempo. It's interesting because, you know, once you develop their trot, you actually have to end up slowing it down a little bit, because if you push them too fast, the rhythm, you know, you actually push them past their point of balance a little bit, thinking you need to cover ground, but really, you know, I say finding the right tempo and rhythm is, you know, for the FEI levels is definitely, it's a challenge, but it's also, you know, it's just getting to know the breed a little bit. These ponies have huge strides, so you don't need to make them, and, you know, they are big already. So, you know, that's a challenge, but the amazing part is how much room you have in the arena too. So that makes it fun as well.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, you have a diagonal to do, you know, five four tempies, and you've got a little bit more time to do it in. So that's fun. But yeah, I'd say that's a little bit of a challenge. But other than that, it's just, I don't, you know, I have to say, I don't know that it is such a challenge. Their brain, like, I've never met harder working horses in my life. They're just so rideable. And we have a 14 one-hand pony that was actually with JJ before I came to work for them, and they did put some piaffe massage on her and start doing, you know, putting pieces together, and she's just phenomenal, because you know, she comes out, you wouldn't think she's got this in her, but then she's got the biggest heart in the world, and she does all the Grand Prix movements, and she'll be going Grand Prix this summer. She's just remarkable. And it would be so cool for an amateur rider to ride her, because she's got such a great brain too. So it's cool for me to ride these ponies, because I feel a little bit like what Silva Martin and JJ Tate feel like with having height on a horse. So.
Yeah, Erin, how tall are you?
So my driver's license says I'm 5 feet tall, so I generally go with that, but probably more like 4'11" and a half. So perfect pony size. But, you know, I mean, I've ridden the big horse. I've ridden plenty of big horses as well. But it has been really fun to have leverage and, you know, be appropriately sized with a horse. It's been really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, you look absolutely fantastic. On I saw you ride this last week a stallion who's going to the FEI levels. So, what are some challenges? And remind me his name. And what are some challenges that you have with him?
So just to talk about that stallion for a second, that is Kinnenmont Cooper O'Grady, and Pam Liddell bred him herself, and he's got Gunsmoke on his father's side. He is, and he's about 14 2.5 hands, and he just started his pre-St. George debut. He has produced so many wonderful offspring. Is a really, really special stallion. I've actually taught him to sleep on my lap and everything. He's a really cool guy. So some of my challenges with him have been, like I said, finding the right rhythm and tempo. He can be so relaxed and nice, but then it's just a little bit boring. So it's just finding that FEI frame in him, and he's finding it now, and it's becoming a little bit second nature for him. So now it's getting really fun.
I love it. That's fantastic. And so tell us a little bit about your your eventing mare. That is so cool. We're going to veer off because that is so cool.
All right.
Such a neat part of the story.
We got a lot of subjects to cover here.
I
Erin,
know.
you're our expert on so many different things.
Well, thank you. So Viola, I've had her since she was 3 years old. And the cool thing is everyone calls her the big gray mare. She's really only 15 free hands. She just has a really large presence. She is wonderful. She's a once in a lifetime horse for me. We're probably the slowest cross country riders out there. We get it done though. And I'd say that's our limitation is she doesn't have any thoroughbred in her, but she has a huge heart. And so I actually just bred her to a thoroughbred stallion. So we have a embryo transfer in the making, which should be really exciting because she's just got a phenomenal brain. And I've been taking her to dressage shows too. Every year I get her qualified for the third level championships or something like that. But it's really fun. I went and I wanted to get to Rolex, so I went and rode for Boyd Martin for a little bit and had a blast. I really enjoyed working for him. And, if I was, like I said, if I was still, in my 20s, I wouldn't have stopped. But I do need to, I had to have a little bit more of be a little bit closer to my family, and but really learned a ton. And I see it in Viola. I if there's a limitation, it will be the speed. But she's a phenomenal. Jumping on her makes me feel pretty safe out there.
That is
fantastic.
so cool. So the next stop is Rolex, hopefully.
Well, we'll see. I have she's going to be 15 this year, and I don't want to. There's a little bit in me that may think that 3 stars kind of where the limitation might be. But hey, you know what? Like I am so, I can't thank her enough for getting me there. So I've had her since she was a 3-year-old. And so, I think, we'll see. I'm going to definitely play it by ear, and I want a happy, healthy horse in the end. And she's given me everything. So we'll see. I have a couple things, in the making, trying to get some young horses out there. And I certainly don't mind. I do a lot with young horses, and I love bringing them along. So it's just as enjoyable for me to get those young horses out there eventing as well.
Well, that is so cool. And you do such a beautiful job on the flat with all of them. So that's why you do so well, for sure.
Thanks.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for coming on today. How can our listeners find you online?
So ebfriedman@gmail.com is my email. And if they look up EBF Sport Horses WordPress, I do have a website that has the listing of our Connemara's for sale, although it does need to be updated. And I can't say enough about Pam Liddell's ponies. They're absolutely wonderful. And I actually had my godmother buy one, and she's doing super with him. And just, we started 6 this year, and one after another are just absolutely wonderful. And so, I think they're for sale up on there. And Kinnemont's site will be up soon. It is under construction at the moment, but either Facebook or by email.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Erin.
Thank you guys for having me.
Well, we are so happy to have Karen Isberg from Kentucky Performance Products on with us for her monthly segment. Karen, welcome to the show as always.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's nice to be inside on this hot day.
I know. Well, it's so cute because I actually had a question, and we wanted to just do a quick review on the heat index because we talked about this last year. We have a great segment on hydrating your horses, and also when it is too hot to ride. And it came up here at the barn today. And so, Karen, can you explain to us that formula when it may be too hot to really ride?
Sure. Great. And it's real simple, so I won't overcomplicate it. Just quickly to remind people, the way your horse cools himself is by sweating, and they do it by evaporation. So if the air is full of moisture, then your horse can't evaporate enough liquid off their body to cool themselves. So that's why you can't just look at temperature. You have to look at temperature and humidity. And of course, out west, that's not as much an issue. But here in the central Kentucky and in the south, it becomes a big issue, and often in the northeast. So what you want to do in the morning is you want to get up and you want to look at the temperature, and you also want to look at the relative humidity, and you want to add those two numbers together. You can also look at wind speed, but wind speed doesn't make a lot of difference unless the wind's really high. So you take that number and you add it together. If it's less than 130, it's safe to ride. If it's between 140 and 180, you need to be careful. You shouldn't push your horse too much. You should stay in the shade, and he's going to need a cool bath to cool down. If you add those two numbers up and they're above 180, you just need to give your horse a bath, put him in a stall under a fan, and you need to go into the air conditioning because it's just really too hot and humid for the horse to cool himself at all. So
that makes sense.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, because it is where I am today. It was, I think the temperature was around 100, and it was like 93% humidity. So we were up in the 190s area, And so that it really was. It was pretty hot to be riding or doing these things. So that's why I emailed Karen, because I said, oh my gosh, I think it is too hot to ride, or really we should all be very careful. So, well, awesome. That was great. A great reminder. And again, everybody can search the segment from last summer we did, and it's a fantastic segment. But that was just a quick reminder for everybody. But for this month, we were going to talk about skin disease. This is also a huge summer issue. So can you get us started?
It is skin. I think the biggest, or probably the three biggest skin issues that I get phone calls on are sweet itch, rain rot, and just general hives. So are you familiar with what sweet itch is? Sometimes it's called summer itch.
It's a fungus?
Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually not a fungus. So what it is, and you'll recognize it when I start explaining it. So these are the symptoms. So the horses get really, really itchy. And it's usually around their ears, on their mane and withers or rump. Sometimes on their face and their chest and their belly. They get really, really itchy. Then it gets red and inflamed, get kind of crusty sores. But in the later phase, that skin gets real thick and black and kind of wrinkly. Okay, so that's called summer itch or sweet itch. And what it's caused by are those little noceums, those nasty little gnats that are out. And horses become allergic to the saliva when those gnats bite them. And then they have an allergic reaction that is symptomatic in this way. The horse shows those symptoms, but it just itches like crazy. Have you ever had a horse with that?
I've not.
I don't think so.
I'm not really in Kentucky. I don't think but in the Northeast, I think it's a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember horses really struggling with that. So, something that you can do for that, of course, is to try to limit the amount of time that they're exposed to them. Kind of insect like that. And then you can coat the areas with an oily substance like baby oil or Skin So Soft. You just need to be careful you don't use any of the tree oils or mineral oil, because that will further aggravate the skin. And then, of course, fly sprays and things like that will help. Also, supplement-wise, you'd want to use an omega-3 fatty acid like our Contribute, which mitigates skin reactions. Allergic reactions and skin inflammation, so that would help. So if you're in the Northeast and you're dealing with sweet itch, those are the couple of the things that you can do. Rain rot is a big problem in Kentucky. Do you struggle with that, Reese, like we do?
Yes, rain, because it rains all the time, so it's really or it's very moist.
Just humid, humidity can cause
humid and moist, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of skin diseases in Florida that I'd never seen before.
Yeah. Exactly. That's all. Central. Good luck to you guys in Florida.
Yeah, our heat index was 1,000 today. So yeah.
1,000.
Oh my God. So rain rot is well, it can be a combination. Typically, it's a fungus and it lives in the soil. And so when the horses are exposed to, you'll find that certain farms have more rain rot than others because it's in the dirt. It's basically in the dirt. So when the horses go out and roll, it's in the dirt, they get it. And then if the conditions are correct on their skin, in other words, it's moist and dark, those kinds of conditions like underneath a blanket or when it's raining all the time, then that fungus proliferates and causes those scabs that you have to pull off, and they can lose a lot of hair. Secondarily, you can get bacterial infections. So sometimes you have to do a couple of different things to treat rain rot, and the best thing to do is talk to your veterinarian. You might have to have a skin scraping to tell exactly what's going on. What do you guys do for rain rot? What do you do?
Well, we're very careful for trying to keep them dry. Yeah, my favorite rain rot is keep them really dry. We always try to dry them before we put them away. We always put them away. We try to put them away clean. That's, I don't just hose them. I try to either hose them, put some liniment on them. I think liniment helps that way a little bit because it's got some, some alcohol in it and that type of thing. Or we bathe them. So we try to keep them pretty clean and dry. That's the big thing that we found. Like we'll put them under fans before we put them away so that their legs are dry before they go into the stalls. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, I found that helps a lot too.
Yeah.
Also, and people need to realize it's very contagious. So you shouldn't share brushes. You shouldn't share boots, pads, grooming supplies. If you've got one horse with rain rot, you can pass it around the barn by sharing.
Yeah, and I'm
No,
not
I
a
think-
share.
So,
Everybody has their own stuff.
Yeah,
what's
skin
what do you
issues can
think?
be very tricky, can't they?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
can.
yeah.
And
It can be
it,
very and
again,
a lot,
like you were saying.
it can
Oh, go
prevent
ahead.
it can present a lot of different ways, and sometimes you're not sure what it is. That's why getting your veterinarian involved and having a skin scraping done can tell you whether it's fungal, whether it's bacterial, and that will help you figure out how to address the problem. But like you said, the biggest thing is keep horses clean and dry. A couple of supplements that you can use that will help with that. Again, Contribute omega-3 fatty acid supplement. It has the marine oils in it that have the good omega-3s, which will reduce inflammation in general. And then also there's been research that shows that they reduce allergic reactions. So that's important if what the problem with the horse's skin is an allergic reaction to something like a bug bite or, some horses, there's certain grasses or weeds that they'll eat, they'll get hives. So that will help to reduce, to mitigate those allergic reactions and then reduce the inflammation. So that's if you've got a horse that's prone to skin problems, putting them on Contribute will really help. I have quite a few horses that are on Contribute for that reason. It makes a difference. The Elevate natural vitamin E will help. It supports the immune system, so it wards off those secondary bacterial infections. And it will also help the lesions on the skin heal faster because the immune system is working better. So those are two.
So Karen, I mean,
those are my two
what happens,
go-to supplements.
those are your go-to? Yeah, so my horses
those
are
are
on
my
the
two
vitamin
go-tos.
E, and I don't have that much trouble. So it sounds like that their immune system probably is supported fairly well because we don't actually have that much trouble with, I mean, knock on wood, because when we do, it's a horrible pain, but my guys are always on the vitamin E. So that has seemed to help a lot because
Well, I think it makes
again,
a
we're
big
optimal.
difference,
Yeah.
And vitamin
Yeah,
E
that makes
is most often deficient in the diet. I mean, the modern diet just does not provide a lot of natural vitamin E to horses. They're not out grazing enough, long enough to get the levels of vitamin E that they need considering the work that they're doing. If they're just a pasture ornament and they're out all day long grazing, then they're going to get a maintenance dose of vitamin E and they're going to do okay. But if they're working at all, then those vitamin E requirements increase depending on the level of work they're doing. And if we don't increase those levels with them, then they don't have that critical antioxidant support that they need to keep their muscles, their nerves, and their immune system healthy. So it's pretty important. We've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I'm like, excellent. I'm like, very cool. And then hives, how do you handle the vitamin E to Contribute? But what are some other kind of hives are hard. Hives are the worst.
Well, hives are hard because hives are a symptom of another problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what you need to do is you need to figure out what caused the hives. Now, I've had horses here in Kentucky that will go out, they'll get rained on in the afternoon, and they'll come in, and the next day they'll be all hivey. And then that'll break with rain rot. So it just kind of depends on what it is. So hives are a reaction, and what you need to do is find out what's causing it. And again, hives can be caused by, an interaction on their skin with a fungus. In other words, that, they'll get that raised area of inflammation, and then that'll turn into rain rot. Now, whether the hives cause the rain rot or the rain rot, we're just taking advantage of the hives being there. I don't know. That's a question for a veterinarian. But I do know that there are some horses that, are allergic to certain weeds or some grasses. Sometimes it's a change in hay. Sometimes it's a change in grain. Maybe you've changed your grain too fast. And it's a jolt to their system, and then they get hives, which is kind of typically hives is an allergic reaction to something. So again, to Contribute, which mitigates those reactions and supports lower levels of inflammation, will help. And the vitamin E to support the immune system, the Elevate. So all of those would help. And then I think if you have a horse that's chronically getting hives or gets hives very badly, you definitely need to get in touch with your veterinarian. The horse may need steroids or antihistamines in order to get better. So it's not something I think you want to mess around with if you've got a horse that's got huge hives on them. I would call my vet.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Karen, as always, awesome conversation. I mean, you're so helpful with everything all the questions. And if our listeners have any questions, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, they can get on our Facebook page, just Kentucky Performance Products, and they can leave a message there. They can either leave a private message or they can put it on the page. They can call us at our office. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And that's at 859-873-2974. Or they can go on our website and email us at info@kpp.com. So there's lots of ways to get in touch with them. We're happy to answer
Thanks. Yes, you're amazing at answering questions. Like I said, I had the question of the heat index today. So thank you for answering it for me as well. Well, Karen, thank you so much.
You're
We
welcome.
look forward to our discussion next month.
Okay, thank you. And you guys stay cool. And I hope you're having fun with your horses.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, we are super excited we kept Missy Flagland on the line for a Total Saddle Fit tip of the week. Missy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, as we talked about sort of last week, we talked about that you're in England right now training with 2 horses, and we wanted you to come up with a tip of the week from over there. So what do you got for us?
I think for me, and what I've learned over here, not learned, but just been made more aware of, is about when I use my leg and my lower leg, especially to address the horse's hind leg, that I get not only the reaction of the hind leg, but physically where the leg goes, whether it pushes into my leg a little bit to the inside of the circle, or if the leg actually steps under the midline of the horse. And one of the things that my husband and I do, or the background that I came up through, was through people like Buck Brannaman, Tom Dorrance, and Ray Hunt. Were for a young horse, a horse that had never been saddled or started, we did a lot of what we call groundwork on the ground, where we do a lot of bending and yielding, getting the hindquarter to step under as the horse starts to put a bend through its whole body. And in relating that to other people who are schooling, maybe you're on your horse and you're going to the right and you're struggling with the shoulder 4, you're struggling with straightness, you're struggling with setting the horse up to do a canter walk transition or a walk canter transition. And I think that for people, if they can back down the step and make sure that when they put the aid on, in this particular case, a leg, that they're actually getting the reaction that they think they're feeling. And for me, and for some of the things that I've seen here while I'm in England, for example, Carl was schooling an upper level rider at his place last week. And one of the things that the horse wasn't quite doing was really stepping under its midline. It was activating its hind leg, but it wasn't stepping under its midline when the rider put its leg on. And so Carl had the rider drift the hindquarter slightly to the outside to get the right reaction. And it was more for the rider than it was for the horse, so that the rider could feel when the horse's leg was in the right place anatomically for the horse's body. And so that, for me, this week has been a big focus and feel of when I put my leg on, not only that the hind leg did activate, but where it activated to. And I think that for a lot of people, that's a huge hole in their training and their riding as they learn to feel for this, that it becomes something that, especially if you have mirrors or if you have somebody on the ground, that in a leg yield, when you really get a leg yield, you really can feel the hind leg step over and cross. And it's a similar version to that, but it's on a lot smaller scale, because we wouldn't want the horse to get out of balance in a way to where you step off the line of travel that you're on in most instances. So for me, that would be the tip of the week, is that whether you're riding down the center line, whether you're riding down the long side or coming through the corner, everybody understands about a shoulder 4, shoulder in, but are you really getting the hind leg to the middle of the body like it needs to be in order to bear the weight and carry the weight as a horse spins around your inside leg? So that would be my tip of the week.
I love it. That's fantastic. And certainly something that, that's basically dressage, right? Or training your horse is when we ask a question,
we want the horse to have a reaction. And then as the horse gets more and more trained and more tuned, like you said, you saw this and this was an upper level horse. It's like, okay, I don't just want you to lift that hind leg. I want you to lift your hind leg and then I want you to place it here. And I think that's one of the things that we get better and better as you go more and more through your training. What do you think, Phil?
I agree.
I would just ask if there's, any tips, Missy, that you use or that you would have that helps people become more aware of, where their horse's legs are or feet are, or where the horse is in general in space, because, it's really nice to be able to have a coach there every day, but how do you kind of figure that stuff out for yourself?
Great question. And there's a lot of simple exercises that people can do to address that. One is when you are by yourself, if you have the ability, whether you have a mirror or even like a camera, to, at the walk, on a loose rein, pick a foot. And every time you think of that foot, you say to yourself, when the foot is either coming off the ground or landing on the ground, you decide however you're going to time up with it. And you say it in a way so as you ride by the camera or you ride by the mirror, you look and you see, am I in time with the foot? Do I know when the right hind leg is going to leave the ground? Do I know when the right hind leg is coming down to the ground? And the reason that's important is because once a foot starts to, people can imagine this in themselves. Once your foot starts to leave the ground, if you're jogging or if you're walking, if somebody interrupts that foot when it's in the air, it's always going to pull you off balance. But if somebody influences your movement before that particular foot leaves the ground, then you have more ability to maintain balance, and then you can ask a different trajectory of that foot. And that's very similar to what we do in horses. So if you can influence either a front foot or a hind foot before it leaves the ground, then you have a better chance of that horse being less resistant in their body and doing what you're asking. But in order to start doing that, you have to know when those feet leave the ground. So that's one exercise you can do. Another one would be, again, very similar. From a standstill, can you ask the hindquarters, to move around the forequarters without a ton of rein contact? How easily and how much does your horse understand where they can yield a hind foot and maybe just one step? That's another piece of the puzzle. Very, very simple.
That's a big one for me. I think that's important. Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, just reiterate that point that if you're trying to ride lateral movements, you have to make sure that the lateral aids work, not just, the beginning, I think we just always establish the gas and the brakes, right? The forward and the back. But I think people get working on their leg yield while they're in motion. And that, that doesn't always make sense to a horse that, now you're teaching them something completely different. And leg yield is, or just moving the body away from the pressure of the legs instead of, kind of forward from pressure in your legs is a totally different conversation that you need to have with the horse. And it's really important to establish that you can do that. I mean, from the ground as well. Absolutely. I think I try and have all my students be able to, push a horse away from pressure of your hand, then that could start the whole process before you ever, get on the ground. But I see too often that the horses are just kind of running through the aids and it's not really working out very well for the rider who's trying to develop, usually from training level to first level and just starting the concepts of lateral work. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Well, thank you. And that you can do that with connection to a very fairly soft rein. That was one thing I've noticed here. Carl would mention a lot, soften the rein, make the rein, he knows what correct connection is, but at the same time, he also knows that the horse has to be able to respond to the leg without running through the hand. It's got to be connected to the hand, can't be backed off and too light, but it also can't be running. You can't use the hand to stop the forward to get the sideways. They have to understand both. And so that too becomes, again, why we do it, a way to make ourselves more sophisticated in our aids and so forth, making the horse and the rider more of a complete partnership. But some basic things is just to even start with, okay, when is the right hind coming off the ground as I'm walking on a loose rein? When is the left hind coming off the ground as I'm walking on a loose rein? Do I really know when that is? And so those are some really important things, because if you know where the feet are, and if you understand how the horse's body works, you can direct them anywhere.
Yeah, it's
That's easier
fantastic.
said than done. As we
Yes, I was just thinking that. I was like, that is a yes.
It's a challenge, big
That's
challenge,
a challenge.
especially as they're
I'll tell you.
cantering around the arena, right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
kind of at a
I'll
little
tell
bit
you
more
the best-
speed than walk.
one of the best horsemen I ever knew, Ray Hunt, could get on a colt that had never been rode, and he could trot it around, usually nothing on its head, just with the saddle on, pick up a canter half a circle, go across the back, go do a flying change, and go the other way. And the horse had never been cantered on with a human. And he would ride by, and he would just say, "You just got to know where the feet are." And he's right. I mean, it can be that simple. I will never be that good. I will aspire to be that good. I will never be that good. However, his point was never forget it's from their mind through their body to their feet. And if you don't get a change in the horse's feet, your aid probably didn't go through mentally and physically. So I hope that helps some people think about things.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So,
Missy,
Yeah.
thank you so much for staying on the line and doing the Total Saddle Fit tip of the week. Any more questions?
I'm at www.lariata Ranch, LARIATA Ranch.com, and you can click on our email and drop me a note, and I can respond back to you. That's not a problem.
Fantastic.
We're also on Facebook. Sorry, we're also on Facebook at Kip Missy Fladland, and you can message me there as well.
This tip was brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, the shoulder relief girth that Reese and Philip both love. And here's why.
The saddle fit solution you have been waiting for is finally here. TotalSaddleFit.com is proud to introduce the Shoulder Relief Girth. This strategically shaped girth actually moves the girth line of your saddle back over 1 inch, thereby freeing your horse's shoulders from the saddle. Traditional girths pull saddles up against a horse's shoulders and often over the top of the shoulders. The Shoulder Relief Girth's recessed ends allow for the billets to buckle into the girth farther back to give your horse unparalleled freedom of motion. We are so certain that your saddle will fit better and your horse will be more comfortable that for a limited time we are offering a 30-day, 110% money-back guarantee. If you are not totally satisfied with your shoulder relief girth, send it back for a full refund plus 10% of the purchase price. Don't wait. Order now for the best saddle fit solution available.
At TotalSaddleFit.com. Visit TotalSaddleFit.com. Well, hey guys, I wanted to remind everybody that we have a brand new show that does involve dressage, and that is the World Equestrian Games radio show that Samantha Clark and I do. It's called the 2018 WEG Show. We are in the process now of going through all the different disciplines. We're kind of given a 101 on all of them. We've done dressage. Actually, we've done all of them. In this week's episode, we did reining, which is kind of the dressage of the Western world and the only Western discipline. So we took a close look at that, and we're going to be starting a series now until the beginning of next year, what we call the Champion Series. That's all people who have won gold medals in the past at the WEGs. And we're going to be bringing them on and doing a series with them. And then next year, we'll be really getting in depth into who's going, who's not going. We're going to be attending a lot of the test events up in Tryon. We talk a lot about where you can stay, what the tickets are, and all that stuff. We're supposed to have a big wig from WEG Organizing Committee on the next episode to go over what the details are. I know we've been getting the question from everybody, are tickets available yet? Not yet. They're still putting that together. The only thing, we've confirmed a couple things, like you will park off-site. You will not park at Tryon, and you will be bussed in. The only people parking at Tryon will be the competitors and their immediate crew. The housing is something that if you're thinking about going next year, you better think about doing it now. You will be staying an hour to an hour and a half away. It's just there aren't a ton of hotels. And the ones that are in the area, are a lot of them are being reserved for officials and volunteers. So definitely start looking at that. Maybe go to any of the house services. Although I did put in for a house for us and for the whole run, for I think it was Airbnb or HomeAway, one of those two, and they wrote back and said, "Oh no, those rates don't apply during WEG," and they tripled it.
Yeah.
So a house for the 2 weeks went from $3,000 to almost $8,000. I think housing's going to be the biggest issue. If you know somebody in the area and they have a couch, might be an option too. But definitely it's something to take a look at. But we'll keep you informed of everything we find out. We've been interviewing locals. We've been really taking a look at that area. And we hope that you can join us over on the 2018 wegshow.com.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I know. We need to be listening too, Phil, so we know what's going on.
Well, we're
Yeah,
hoping
for
to
sure.
get a
Sounds
house
exciting.
that, as you guys come in to help coverage for the different disciplines, we can all fit. That's the goal.
We like it. We can bring air mattresses. We're good that way.
Yeah, we're hoping.
we
Well,
can
we're
dice
really
for
looking
all.
forward to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
bales
cool.
of hay.
And we're really looking for hay can be slept on. I think we all probably have slept on a bale of hay or two.
That's for sure.
in this conversation for sure. So, well, cool. Well, we're really looking forward to it. And as always, email and Facebook, you are welcome to shout out to us, or if you want some questions for us to get to Glenn, we can do that as well. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is on Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors to allow us to put on a good show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.